Welcome to the Bridgerton recap. Set in the 19th century, Bridgerton captures the romance and drama of living as a noble. Coming out for the first time, the girls present themselves in front of the Queen, and the esteemed Bridgertons are perfect, even receiving a compliment from thou Queen. On the other side of town, the Duke of Hastings, Simon Basset, returns, visiting Lady Danbury, his mother figure and the one that took him in, after his biological mother died during labour, and his father outcasted him for having a speech impediment. This resentment grew, and as he became ill, Simon vowed to never birth an heir. In the present, he gains attention from mothers and weary suitors, but Simon avoids them. Similarly, Daphne is thrusted into society and quickly made to marry, but running into the Duke, they construct a fraudulent relationship, where mothers will think the Duke is taken, and more suitors will want Daphne because of the status. All goes well until it becomes all too real, and Lady Danbury pushes for Simon to marry Daphne, and he promptly breaks up with her, allowing for her to start dating the prince or nephew of the Queen. Conversely, her oldest brother and replacement Viscount struggles to find love, having a rocky relationship with Sierra, an opera singer. They have a secret relationship, but they realistically know she can never marry him because of their class. With the free time on her hands, Daphne's younger sister Eloise investigates who the mysterious Lady Whistledown is, a woman who has been publishing papers exposing the various scandals and gossip across the nobles, so much so that even the Queen wants to silence her, but they still don't know who she is. She is best friends with Penelope Featherington, whose family recently had a new guest, Marina Thompson, sent to live with her cousins the Featheringtons after being embroiled with a scandal, that of being with child, impregnated by a soldier, Sir George Crane, who as of late has stopped responding to her letters. Fearing the possibility of being single without support, Portia Featherington, the mother, pushes for her to find a suitor, and he lands right on her doorstep, Colin Bridgerton, the second youngest brother, that helps her escape an older marriage. Nearing her due date, she pushes for them to be wed, so much so that he suggests they run away together and get married, so they pack. But not too happy to this idea, Penelope tries to convince her that the letter of them breaking up was forged, but it is futile. Continuing with Daphne, her time spent with Prince Frederick has been scornful, her missing Simon and spotting him everywhere they go, but they are unable to stop their urges and expose themselves in the garden. Caught by Anthony, the Duke is forced to marry Daphne as he had taken her virtue, but he chooses against it, and Anthony is forced to initiate a duel, promptly interrupted by Daphne once again. He reveals that he is unable to give children, but she still agrees to those terms, and they are pronounced to be wed. Thus, she moves into his mansion in Cliveden Castle, a long journey away from the Bridgertons' home. They spend their honeymoon exploring each other's bodies, spreading their seed everywhere. Their first argument is about the supposed children he can't have. Learning of how children are made, she realizes that Simon is choosing to not have children rather than can't. They spend outings at balls pretending to be happy newlyweds, but secretly spiting each other, up until the new set of Lady Whistledown arrives, detailing the scandal of Miss Thompson and exposing her as being with child. This revelation cancels their plans, and the Featherington family is heavily shamed, being shunned from multiple events. Even Colin says his last words, feeling empathy with Marina's situation being similar to hers. She tries her best at figuring out what had happened to Sir George, using her new power as Duchess to investigate, and one day, Sir Philip Crane arrives, explaining that George loved her until he was killed in battle. His offer is to marry her, as his brother would have wanted her to be protected and provided for, but she declines, not knowing Philip or ever loving him. After a short heartfelt conversation with Portia about marrying a man she never loved, she gathers what is important for her and the child, agreeing to marry Philip. With one mystery down, Daphne tries to figure out why Simon hates his father so much, discovering letters he wrote to his father once he had conquered his speech impediment that he never opened, and Lady Danbury explaining how he was a horrible father that was never there. They attend a long ball, dancing in the rain. He gets a revelation that loving Daphne is worth more than the hatred he harbors for his father, and they decide to have a child. Sadly, it is revealed that the Featheringtons were forced to give Marina a place to stay because Archibald Featherington, the father, winded up in so much gambling debt, so much so that he convinced Will Mondred, Simon's boxer friend, to throw a fight, allowing for both of them to rake in all the money. But this massive win caught eyes, and they get the tragic news that Archibald Featherington had been murdered and all the money had left with him, leaving the deed to the home to a cousin. Lady Whistledown is revealed to be Penelope Featherington, a fact known only to Madame Delacroix, the modiste that helps her distribute the scandal sheets now. Penelope hides her profits from her family, disguising her writings as letters to Colin. Eloise Bridgerton, recently presented to the Queen, reluctantly begins her search for a suitor while also investigating Lady Whistledown. The Sharmas, friends of Lady Danbury, arrive in London to find a suitable match for Edwina Sharma. Kate Sharma, the elder sister, acts as a chaperone and is fiercely protective of her. Kate has no interest of marriage for herself, focusing solely on ensuring Edwina finds a worthy suitor. Anthony Bridgerton, still haunted by his father's tragic passing, is also searching for a wife after his former lover, Sienna Rousseau, left him. Anthony's goal is a practical marriage devoid of love. The Queen declares Edwina the season's diamond, making her the most sought-after debutante. Numerous suitors flock to her, including Anthony. Kate overhears Anthony's cynical views on marriage and his notorious reputation as a rake, leading her to believe that he is entirely unsuitable for her sister. She decides to thwart his attempts at trying to court her sister. Despite her efforts, Anthony manages to charm Edwina. Kate reveals to Lady Danbury that Edwina must marry a nobleman to fulfill her stipulations of a trust fund set up by their grandparents, the Sheffields. This financial pressure is kept from Edwina to prevent her from marrying for the wrong reason. Anthony invites the Sharmas to the Bridgertons' estate for a weekend, where they engage in a competitive game of Paul Moore, especially when Anthony abruptly stops, reminded of his father's death from a bee sting. During their stay, Kate and Anthony's interactions grow more charged, oscillating between resentment and confusing attraction. Meanwhile, across town, Colin Bridgerton visits Marina Thompson, who is now named Lady Crane. This interaction prompts Colin to reconsider his feelings and the people in his life, particularly Penelope, who has always been his confidant and friend. Eloise Bridgerton's season is fraught with frustration. She despises the attention from suitors and the societal pressures from her mother. Eloise feels like a failure and an outsider in the debutante scene. The Featheringtons face their own set of challenges with the arrival of Lord Jack Featherington, a distant cousin who has inherited their estate. Portia Featherington fears Jack might marry the wealthy Cowper Harris and push her family out. She devises a plan to secure their future by marrying her daughter Prudence to Jack. Portia orchestrates the scandal by luring Jack into the Orange Grove, then spreading rumors of an affair, thus forcing Jack to marry Prudence to protect her virtue. However, Jack reveals to Portia that he is financially ruined and intended to marry for money, throwing the Featheringtons into further turmoil. Despite knowing he must marry Edwina, Anthony cannot deny his feelings for Kate. This internal conflict culminates in Anthony's proposal to Edwina, a decision fraught by emotion, but she figures out that he and Kate are in love, so she calls off the marriage, eventually leading to Anthony and Kate admitting their love for each other and promising to spend their future together. Meanwhile, Eloise's curiosity about Lady Whistledown's true identity leads her to Penelope, her best friend. The revelation strains their relationship, leaving both of the girls heartbroken, with Penelope wondering if she should keep riding, as it impacted those she loves. The Featheringtons use a scheme to try and lure investors into Jack's ruby mines. This is where the season ends. Make sure to subscribe, and for more, watch this.